Okay, thanks everyone for coming. Our weekly Jewish U Parsha class. This week we're actually not going to do Parsha because tonight, that is Thursday night and Friday's seventh day of Adar, Zayin Adar, the seventh day of Adar, which is happy birthday to Moshe. Happy birthday to Moshe. So we are going to talk about Zayin Adar, the birthday of Moshe, which is also, it turns out, the yortzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu also. It's also the day he passed away, born and passed away on the same day. We're going to get to that. And we're going to connect that to Parshas Zachor, which this week we read the extra passage in the Torah about remembering and not forgetting what Amalek did to the Jewish people, what he did to us in the desert. So Zayin Adar plus Parshas Zachor equals you are not alone. Because we're not alone. And we're going to talk about the connection of this year, Zayin Adar, the 7th of Adar, Moshe's birth and passing is Friday. Shabbos is Ches Adar, the 8th of Adar. So we're going to talk about what does the 8th of Adar represent. So we're going to take from this what will go with us and the energy of Shabbos this year, particularly where Shabbos is the 8th day of Adar. Specifically, not Zayin Adar, which is Moshe's birth and passing, but it's the 8th of Adar. We're going to talk about that. Okay, good, ready? We're starting with a fairly well-known Gemara in Masechta Megillah Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis 13b. The Gemara says as follows towards the end of the line. Hipil Purhu Agoidel. The verse says in the Megillah, the verse says they cast a pur. A pur, what is a pur? Well, it's not Hebrew. It's actually Persian. Pur means, Hu Hagoidel, the verse tells us, it's a girl, it's a lot. Chapter 3 of the book of Esther, the scroll of Esther. So they cast a pur, which is the law. That's the lottery, right? They picked out of a hat. What day Haman wanted to know, should I commit genocide and kill all the Jewish people? That's what he wanted to know. Tana. So we have a teaching that Kivan Shanafal Pur B'Chodesh Adar, since the lot fell in the month of Adar, Somach Simcha Gedoyla, Haman was very happy, he rejoiced. And he said, Nafali Pur B'Yerach Shameis by Moshe. Givaldik, he said. Well, he probably didn't say Givaldik, but you got the point. So Givaldik, Haman said. The lot fell that I'm going to annihilate the Jewish people in the month of Adar. That's a good sign. Why is it a good sign? Because Haman knew that Moshe Rabbeinu, the leader of the Jewish people, passed away in Adar. So it must be a bad month for the Jewish people. But the Gemara continues with the secret that Haman didn't know. Haman didn't know that Moshe passed away, but he also was born on the 7th of Adar. So Haman thought it was a bad month for the Jews. Newsflash, Moshe was born during that month. It's a good month for the Jews. And that's really the secret of Purim. What he thought was bad was actually good. And everything turns around, everything transforms, right? The gallows that he erects for the Jewish people, for Mordechai ostensibly, is the very one that he was hanged upon later on in the story. That's the Gemara. Now, how did he know when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away? How did he know that? He didn't look it up on Google. How did he know? So Rashi explains, B'Shiva B'Adar Meis, he died away on the 7th day of Adar, Shenemar. Rashi makes a whole mathematical calculation, a very simple calculation. It says in the book of Yoshua, right, which is the first book after the 5 books of Moses. That's Yoshua, is the successor to Moshe Rabbeinu. So it says in the book of Yoshua, and the people ascended from the Jordan River in the 10th of the first month. First month in this context is Nisan. Subtract 30 days, because that's how long they mourned after the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu. V'shloisha yomim, and tack on another 3 days, so 33 days, sheichinu lahem tzeidah, that they took in preparing for a certain journey that they took, which is also the book of Yoshua. As it says, shenemar echinu lachem tzeidah, kibel shloisha yomim atin loifrim. Prepare 3 days, pack up your bags, put your snacks together, get your GPS going, whatever you're going to need. We're going to go on a journey. So that's 30 days for the morning, 3 days for a preparation for an upcoming journey. That's 33 days. And it's the 10th day of the first month which is Nisan. Subtract 30 days from that, you have the 10th of Adar. Subtract another 3 days, you have the 7th of Adar. So that's how Haman was able to make a relatively simple calculation and figure out when Moshe Rabbeinu died. Good, it's okay so far? Now the question is, why couldn't he also make a calculation and figure out when Moshe Rabbeinu was born? Why couldn't he make that calculation? So the Marsha, who's one of the commentaries on the Gemara, he asks this question. He's one of those ones that's usually the small print in the back of the Gemaras. And well, now the newer Gemaras, they made the print a little bit bigger and easier to read. But anyway, the Marsha asked this question. If Haman is smart enough, and by the way, it didn't take such brains, if you're smart enough to figure out when Moshe died, why wasn't he smart enough to figure out when Moshe was born? He only knew Moshe's yortzeit, but he did not know the Yom Huledis, the birthday. Why not? So the Marsha explains as follows. On the fourth word on the line, in the Marsha, Avol, Shenoilad b'Zayin Adar, the fact that Moshe was born on the 7th of Adar, Einoi Mafurosh, it's not explicitly written really anywhere in the verses. Again, the day he passed away, the 7th of Adar, is also not explicitly written, but you could calculate it. Subtract 30, subtract 3, you get to the 7th of Adar. It's not so complicated. But how do you know when he was born? It doesn't really say anywhere when he was born. It says that he was born. And it says that when he was born, the house filled with light. It says various other things. It says that he was put in the river and that Batya retrieved him from the river, but it doesn't say when he was born. There's no way to calculate seemingly when his birthday was. I said, then how do we know? If Haman didn't know, how do we know? So the Marsha explains, Ela Midrash Chachomim. There's a Medrash. There's a teaching that says as follows. Midchsi, from the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu says, at the very end of the Torah, in Parshas V'Zois HaBaracha, he says the following verse, Meya ve'esrim shana anoichi hayoim. That's where you get the 120 years. I remember I used to work in an old age home, as they call it, a nursing home. It was just 2 hours a week, very little work here in Chinatown. And there was one guy there who was a volunteer there, older character. He always used to ask me, why do Jews always say bis 120? They should live, he didn't know the Yiddish actually, which is surprising for an older person. Sometimes you'd expect them, at least the older Ashkenaz, you expect them to know the Yiddish. But he's, why do you always say you should live to 120? He asked me this, I don't know, he must have asked me this question 120 times. And every time I would be like, that's a really good question. I'm so glad you asked. The answer is because that's how long Moses lived for. Oh, wow, that's amazing. And the next week he would ask me the same question again. Okay. Anyway, on that day that he passed away, he says, I am 120 years old today. Hayoim. Take out the word hayom. Doesn't make a difference in the verse. Instead of Moshe saying, I'm 120 years old today, say I'm 120 years old. Like, well, today, obviously I'm 120 years old today, because it's today right now. Today is today. So if I'm telling you 120, that means I'm 120 today. So why does the verse have that seemingly extra word? I'm 120 years old today. Yeah.
Because that was his birthday?
Oh, so our sages tell us, Hayoim, today is the day that I'm 120. And Matam Alomer Hayoim. So what does it come to teach us that he said today? Exactly what you said. Malamed, that today is his birthday. Today specifically. And that Hashem fills or completes the life, once again, the life of a tzaddik, of a righteous person, from day to day, from month to month, and from year to year. So therefore, if he was born on that, so what day would he be born? The very same day he passed. That's the tradition. And there's such a tradition, there's no way Haman would have known that there's such a tradition. Again, simple mathematical calculation, Haman could do it. But to know a tradition that we have amongst ourselves, that Hashem makes sure that a righteous individual passes away on the same day he's born, all from the extra word, I'm 120 years old today, Haman would never know that. That's why he didn't know when Moshe was born. Question or comment?
How do you know exactly that he was born on Zayin Adar?
We don't. We know when he passed away because we have a simple mathematical calculation. We know that he was born on the day because there's a tradition that we have that for righteous people, for tzaddikim, Hashem makes it exactly even.
Also, David.
There are others too. There are others. The second Chabad Rebbe actually also was born and passed away on the same day. There are others. It's a little bit uncommon, but happens such a thing. So technically, we don't actually know when he was born. We know when he passed away. But we have this tradition based on this extra word that I'm 120 years old today. Today, what do you mean today? Tomorrow, yesterday. Oh, from there, our sages extrapolate and interpret that it's specifically on this day that he became 120. And that's the same day as the passing. Again, you wouldn't know that on your own. You would never figure that out. It's just that our sages have such a tradition, such a teaching. Good. Okay. Let's continue to the next side of the page. Happy birthday. Hi.
Did you use that cup on purpose?
I was hoping someone would ask me that.
Just because.
The answer is no, I did not use this cup on purpose. What happened was that I went to get a tea because we got this nice mint tea over there. And we ran out of the regular cups we have, but we had these cups there. So I took the cup and I started filling up. And as I'm filling it up, I realized,
It's like,
it wasn't
way
planned.
too coordinated.
It's way too good, right? I didn't plan it, but I realized right away, and then Hashem planned it. Okay. There's a Gemara in Masechta Shaita, which conveniently enough is the exact same page as the Gemara we just quoted before from Masechta Megillah. In Masechta Megillah, it's 13b. That's the Gemara that says that Haman was excited that the poor, the lot, fell out during Adar, but he didn't know the secret that Moshe was born that day. So the same page, 13b in Shaita, says the following. It's a whole discussion about Moshe Rabbeinu in the Gemara over there in Shaita. And that's also a famous Gemara, really it's on the next page over there, that no one knows where Moshe is buried. And the Gemara says even Moshe himself doesn't know where he's buried, which is an interesting thing. And there's a whole story over there that the Romans came and they wanted to find where Moses was buried. So they said, show us where Moshe is buried. They went up, so we know he's buried in Har Nevo, on a certain mountain. So they went up the mountain, they climbed up, and the people that were up on the top of the mountain, it appeared to them that Moshe's grave was below them. The people at the bottom of the mountain appeared to them that it was above, and nobody could find it. They weren't able to find it. Anyway, that's all Gemara. That's not our topic today. The Gemara says like this. Tana, we have a teaching. Oysa Shabbos, that very Shabbos, and the tradition indeed is that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away on Shabbos, which raises a whole another issue because it's a separate statement that says that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote 13
on the day he died.
Torah scrolls the day he died. How do you do that if it was Shabbos? Okay, that's a whole nother discussion. Maybe we'll have a class.
Are there answers? Like, do people discuss that?
Yes, discuss. Okay. One answer, which the answer, I don't know if I understand the answer. I'll tell you what it is, because you mentioned it, is that actually 12 of them he wrote on Erev Shabbos.
Okay.
You're okay with that? And the 13th one, he wrote with tears.
I did hear. Okay.
I don't know what that means. But anyway, I just mentioned it. Okay. The Gemara says, Oysa Shabbos, that very Shabbos, 7th of Adar, when Moshe passed away, it was Shel Diyoi Zuge Hoysa. It was a Shabbos of two pairs, namely Moshe and Yehoshua, who would be his successor. They both were, in a sense, ruling. They both were the king. They both were the leader on that same day. Moshe's last day, Yehoshua's first day as the leader. Authority was taken from one of them, namely from Moshe, who passed away, and it was transferred to Yehoshua, who now leads the Jewish people. That's the Gemara. So Zayin Adar, how many people were the leaders on Zayin Adar? Two people are the leaders on Zayin Adar, Moshe and Yehoshua. So what's the 8th of Adar? What's the 8th of Adar?
The day after the 7th of Adar?
The day after the 7th. Which means, in plain English, that it's the first day that Yehoshua was on his own. Because on the 7th of Adar, Yehoshua was the leader, right? It says, that's the Gemara says, that Shabbos had two leaders, but he wasn't the leader alone. He wasn't yet on his own 2 feet. He was still under the influence and under the umbrella of Moshe. He wasn't truly a leader yet. He wasn't truly independent until the 8th of Adar, which again, this year is Shabbos. Let's take a quick look at the Gemara, Masechta Bava Basra. So you could say as follows. The verse says, and you shall put of your honor upon him. You should put of your honor upon him. So the verse says, mehodcha, from your honor, you should put on him. Meaning from Moshe to Yoshua. So the Gemara explains, "V'loi kol hoidcha," not all of your honor. It's only some of it, indicating that Yehoshua was on a lesser level than Moshe Rabbeinu. He didn't get the full hoid, the full glory that Moshe had. He was a little bit of a lesser level. Now, the elders of that generation, what does it matter what elders of which generation it was? Let's read it and see if we can figure it out. The elders of that generation said the following comparison. Pnei Moshe kipnei Chama. The face of Moshe is likened to the sun, whereas Pnei Yehoshua kipnei Levana. Whereas the face of Yehoshua is only like the moon, which is a brighter light. Sun. Where does the moon get its light from?
Sun.
The sun. It just reflects the light of the sun. That's it.
I don't know.
What?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That he's likened to the moon or that?
No, that the moon reflects the sun.
Oh, it does.
It does. Now, one second. Why does the Gemara say Zakenim Shabba'osai Hador? The elders of that generation, and it was the elders of this generation that said it. If it's true, if indeed Moshe's face was likened to the sun and Yehoshua was likened to the moon, who cares which generation it was said during? A basic question I'm asking.
Know that
What was?
only that generation would really know the difference
How? You're right, but how?
because they saw both.
Oh,
Like
simple.
the people when they saw the second mission.
Oh, simple.
Okay.
It was specifically the elders of that generation because they saw Moshe and they saw Yehoshua. So they said, you know what Moshe's like? He's like the sun. You know what Yeshua's like? He's like they both are the Shnei HaMa'oris HaGedolim, like the Torah tells us. They are both the luminaries in the sky. They both emit light. But the sun is the sun. Can't compare to the sun. So Yehoshua, the basic reading of the Gemara, is on a lower level than Moshe. But the Hashgacha Pratis is that this past summer, I met someone in Yerushalayim. This is not the topic of the class at all, but I can't help from share this. That I met someone in Yerushalayim by the name of Simcha Raz. You ever heard of him? Simcha Raz. Okay, let me ask you a different question. Did you hear of Aryeh Levin, Rav Aryeh Levin?
Yeah.
There's an English book, very famous, one of the early famous English books, The Tzaddik in Our Times. Heard this book before? A Tzaddik in Our Times. It's about a Yid in Yerushalayim, Rav Aryeh Levin. So the book was written by Simcha Raz, who I met, was a student of his. I met him this summer. He just passed away. I met him this summer. We spent Erev Shabbos together in his home in Bayit Vegan, and he passed away 3 months ago maybe. He was 90-something. So he told me that this Gemara is not, God forbid, knocking Yehoshua. Moshe was great. Yehoshua, just like the moon. It's a low level. Because the Gemara continues. Look at what it continues. Oila loisa busha, oila loisa chlima. Oy vey to us such an embarrassment. Woe for the disgrace that Yehoshua, that we didn't merit to have another leader as great as Moshe. So he told me that Rav Aryeh Levin had a teaching that he said, no, God forbid, the Gemara would never denigrate Yehoshua, wouldn't say something negative about him. What it means is, he explained to me, based on other places, that Yehoshua, he brings the story of, I'm totally blanking right now. I'm blanking, I have to look it up. I wrote it up for one of my weekly emails recently, actually, the whole story of this Simcha Raz and Aryeh Levin. Fascinating story, and how Simcha Raz came to New York and met the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Fascinating story. But he said that I'm blanking what it was right now, that a certain great person came to shul. He would come to shul early and he would like sweep the floors and arrange the benches. But everyone else felt that was beneath them. But he didn't feel it was beneath him. And because he didn't feel it was beneath him, he merited to be the great leader. Oh, that's what it was. Osniel ben Knaz. Osniel ben Knaz was one of the people of that same time as well. Was actually, it says, a greater Torah scholar than Yehoshua. But he didn't become the leader. Yeshua became the leader, even though he was a lesser scholar, whatever that means exactly. And the reason is because Yeshua was willing to come and do something beneath his dignity, so to speak. Organize the benches in shul. So the woe for this embarrassment is not woe for the embarrassment on Yeshua, woe for the embarrassment on us, that we were not willing to do something beneath our dignity. Yeshua was willing to do it, and therefore he became the leader. Okay, anyway, that was a little bit of a digression. Okay, let's try to get back on track now. Zayin Adar, the 7th of Adar, this Friday, is the day Moshe Rabbeinu passed. It's also his birthday. And it's the day that is shared by both Moshe and Yehoshua. So Ches Adar, the day after Zayin Adar, this Shabbos, this year falls on the Shabbos, is a day when Yehoshua stands on his own 2 feet. It's his first day as the leader of the Jewish people without his Rebbe, without his leader with him. So let's take a look in a Fabrengen. I have the Yiddish here. There's no Hebrew or English translation of this, to my knowledge. So I put a few excerpts from the Yiddish. I'll read it in the Yiddish because Yiddish is Geschmack, and that's the authentic way it is. Was der Chiluk zwischen Moshe and Yehoshua is, the difference between Moshe and Yehoshua is, wie die Gemara sagt, as the Gemara says in Bava Basra that we just read, as Pnei Moshe k'pnei Chama, Pnei Yehoshua k'pnei Levana. The face of Moshe is likened to the sun, and the face of Yehoshua is likened to the moon. What does that mean? As Yehoshua is a Talmid Makabel Levana for Moshe Chama. That Yehoshua is a disciple, he's a student, he's receiver, he's a recipient from Moshe. Just like the moon receives the light of the sun and then bounces it back, reflects the light of the sun. So to Yehoshua, in a sense, he's like the moon. He's got nothing of his own. He just reflects what his Rebbe taught him. He reflects what his teacher taught him. Ches Adar, so the 8th day of Adar, this Shabbos, this is the unique spiritual energy that's prevalent on this particular Shabbos this year. Ches Adar is their erste Tag when Yehoshua, their Talmud and Makav Moshe, is given a length. It's the first day that Yehoshua is alone. His Rebbe passed away yesterday. It's the first day he's alone. How does a person feel when they're alone? Not so good. You don't feel so geschmack when you're alone. Nobody wants, even people that are loners. Nobody really wants to be alone. You don't want to feel alone. By the way, you could be alone, but not feel alone. Other times people could be in a group of 20, 30, 40, 50 friends and feel totally separate, especially in today's generation, when people really are together in groups and they are alone because they're staring at phones. So it's really understandable how a person could mamish be alone in a group, or you could be alone when you're alone also, but it's not contingent on who you're necessarily around. But when a person feels alone, that's one of the worst feelings. So here's Yehoshua. He sets up, it's the 8th day of Adar. Nebuch, his Rebbe passed away the day before. How does he feel? Alone. My Rebbe's left me. What do I have? How am I going to go forward? How am I going? Because now it's incumbent upon me. How am I going to lead? So the Fabrengen continues, 1981. Was in Zman stellt sich das auf und Ches Adar. It's the 8th day of Adar. Was der Tag is madgish, that the 8th day of Adar emphasizes as afal pi was bis demot hat man bekommen alle heute als Prodis mit darf sich wie man darf sich finden von nasi der ein und Moshe Rabbeinu schon geholder vador, that even though up till now Yehoshua just had to listen to Moshe and do whatever Moshe told him to do. When he had a question, what would he do? He would go ask Moshe. If he wasn't unsure about something, he would ask Moshe. When he needed to hear a good Dvar Torah, he would ask Moshe. When he needed inspiration, he would ask Moshe. Whatever he needed, he turned to his Rebbe, he turned to Moshe Rabbeinu. But now he no longer has that. This is the first day he's alone. Biz as a filu b'yom shalifnei is the Zayin Adar. Is Yehoshua nit gestanden allein. Even on the 7th of Adar, half the day he was alone, technically. Moshe passed away, so for the rest of the day, he was alone. But no. But the Gemara tells us, no, that day was a day of 2 pairs, 2 leaders. Der ganze Tag hat belangt zu beiden von Moshe and Yehoshua. The whole day, even though technically Moshe passed away half the day, but the whole day is considered to be belonging to both of them. Afal Pichein, when es kommt Ches Adar, when Ches Adar comes, the day after Moshe Rabbeinu passes away, this very special Shabbos, we didn't connect it to Parshas Zachor yet. This very special Shabbos left us as demol darf man stehen auf die eigenen Füße. It's a very simple message. A very simple message. Ches Adar, the 8th day of Adar, teaches us you could stand on your own 2 feet. You can do it. Even if your Moshe Rabbeinu passed away the day before, you can do it. You can stand on your own 2 feet. Nutzen dem eigenen Seichel, you can use your own intellect. You can no longer ask your Moshe Rabbeinu, what should I do now? Now comes the time. Now you're an adult. Now you have to figure it out on your own. You have to use your own intellect. In order to carry out and fulfill your purpose in this world totally and completely. Now is the time. This is the day. So this is a very unique Shabbos because it's a day when we can draw energy from the 8th day of Adar, from Yehoshua, which, by the way, I didn't put the verses on the source sheet, but Moshe tells Yehoshua, say hilochem ba'amalek, go fight Amalek. And Yeshua does that. And the verse says numerous times, Yehoshua mentions his name numerous times. He's the one doing the fighting. So he had to stand up to Amalek on his own. Not exactly on his own. Moshe was still there. It says that Moshe had to hold his hands up while they were fighting. But Moshe tells him, you go fight. I'm not fighting. You do it. And Yeshua was able to do it. And he was able to defeat Amalek. And that's the tremendous power of the 8th day of Adar, falling right after the 7th day of Adar. That when we think we're alone, we're not alone. We have extra strength, and we can draw that strength from the 8th day of Adar. And the Sikh concludes over here. And since there's a general rule, Hashem says, I don't ask you things to do. I don't ask you what to do based on what I, Hashem, am capable of. No. I ask you based only on what you are capable of. So therefore, it's verstandig, it's self-understood, as zusammen mit der Heiroha von Ches Adar, that together with this powerful message of the Ches Adar, you can stand and...
is that the same word? I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, zusammen.
What does it mean?
Together.
Oh, okay.
Zusammen mit dem. Yiddish is so good. As zusammen mit der Heiroha means together with this lesson, with this message, with this encouragement that we receive on Ches Adar, on the 8th of Adar, that we can stand on our own 2 feet. That we can use our own seichel, our own intellect. We can do it. Together with this, from Ches Adar, gibt man euch malamayla mesinas koyach durchzuführen das und durchführen beschleimus. In addition to that, Hashem gives us an extra koyach, extra strength. This Shabbos in particular, He gives us extra strength to actually do it, to actually stand on my 2 feet, to actually successfully go through the world, through the challenges of life, through the challenges, the ups and downs that life brings us. This Ches Adar is a time to tune in and to tap in to the Moshe Rabbeinu level energy, to the Yehoshua energy, and to know that Hashem is not only telling me that I can stand on my own 2 feet and that I'm able to fight Amalek. Parshas Zachor we're reading this week. Not only that I'm able to fight Amalek, but that I will be victorious, that I will succeed, because Hashem is giving us extra koyach, whatever we'll need in order to succeed. So happy birthday. Comments or questions?
I have a question for Al.
Okay. Question or comment?
It's sort of related. I heard that the day of Purim is like a really special day to pray.
Yeah, it is. In fact, not only that, what you're saying is very true. Not only that, in the Megillah itself, it refers to the month of Adar as HaChodesh Asher Hapach, the month that was transformed. The month didn't transform, only that day transformed. Only it was that day the Haman was supposed to annihilate the Jewish people, that transformed. No, the Megillah tells us the whole month is transformed. So the entire month of Adar, although not Purim, has a Purim energy, a transformative energy. And by the way, there is an opinion that's from the Talmud Yerushalmi. I think it's brought in the Mishnah Berurah somewhere also, that technically you could read Megillah already today. That if someone, for whatever reason, I don't know, they're traveling on a boat and 1,000 years ago, and they're not going to have a Megillah on the boat, they're going to be there on Purim, and there's no internet, and there's no Chabad Shliach there to bring them a Megillah to read, they could read the Megillah already today from the beginning of Adar. Because the whole month is Purim Dik. The whole month has this transformative energy. Certainly Purim, especially on Purim, has this tremendous power. And especially this year, where Purim is Erev Shabbos. So it's the energy, in addition to Purim, has the energy of Erev Shabbos, which is a special time. And going straight into Shabbos is also extra special. But we're getting ready for that now, where tonight and tomorrow is Zayin Adar. the birthday and the Yortzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is intrinsically connected to Purim, as we're learning tonight. Because the whole reason Haman was excited was because of Moshe Rabbeinu. He just didn't know the secret. He just didn't know that Moshe was also born on that day. It's actually a good month for the Jewish people. And from Zayin Adar, we go straight to Shabbos this year, the 8th of Adar. And the 8th of Adar teaches us you could fight Amalek. Any challenge that you have in your life, you can succeed. You can stand on your own 2 feet. You don't need to be somebody special. You don't need to have, superhuman talents. You, as you are, can and will succeed. Hashem gives you extra brachas, extra koyach, extra strength, extra ability to succeed in battling your own Amalek. Whatever challenges you encounter in life, that's the Shabbos, a powerful energy that we can get. We have to tap into it, to say l'chaim on Shabbos and tap into this powerful energy. And that then leads us to next week, which is the actual Purim. But we're getting ready for it now already. Parshas Zachor is this week, which is actually a mitzvah from the Torah to hear Parshas Zachor read in shul. If you're in Queens, we're going to be reading it here, God willing, on Shabbos, not before 11 a.m. Earlier than that, I'm telling you that they come late. There's no 11 a.m. is going to come. We'll read Parshas Zachor sometime after that. But so yes, and even after Purim, the whole month of Adar is transformed for blessings for the Jewish people. For the Jewish people, right? There was sasain v'simcha, there was joy and rejoicing. I said it wrong. Light and joy, sasain v'simcha, and all types of rejoicing and celebration and so forth. And then we say kain ti'alanu, right? We should also be able to rejoice. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so you are not alone. Parentheses, you are parentheses not. That's why we're going to talk about. You are not alone. Because even if you think you're alone, even if your Moshe has gone, your leader's gone, you're not ever alone. Hashem is with you. And you have the strength that you need. And even when you think you're alone, it doesn't matter. You're not really alone. And you have the ability to do what you need to do to rise above and to be successful in battling whatever battles come your way. So thanks everyone for coming. Have a freilichen Zayin Adar, a joyous Zayin Adar, a great Shabbos.